Hello friends, I am Dr. Vijay Prakash and today I'll be talking to you about obturators. Now, what is obturator? Obturator is basically a maxillofacial prosthesis which is basically given in defects, which could be congenital or acquired defects, in order to close those defects. So that is given if you have say a defect here in the palate, then you're going to make a maxillofacial prosthesis which will close that defect, and that type of prosthesis is called as obturator. Now, before going into detail about obturators, let me first tell you what are basically types of defects. There are two types of defects. One is congenital defects. Say for example, you have cleft palate patients, so that is a congenital problem. Another type of defects are the acquired defects. Now, about cleft palate patients or cleft lip and cleft palate, we'll have a discussion some other time. But the acquired defects can be because of trauma. They can be post-surgical because of say very commonly oral cancer, squamous cell carcinoma, or other type of defect in the palate. So in those cases, you need to know about the classification which classifies different types of post-surgical defects. Now, that is very important classification given by M. Aramani in 1976, which classifies post-surgical maxillary defects on the basis of relationship of the defects to the remaining abutment teeth. Now, let us see all those defects and classification. According to this classification, this is class 1 defects. Now, the class 1 defect is basically resection which is done along the midline, as you can see, and of the maxilla, and the teeth are maintained on the other side. So the teeth on the other side are intact, whereas you have a surgery which is from the midline, which is including all the hard tissues and the soft tissues. So this is one of the most commonly common maxillary defect which we see. This is class 2 defect. Now, in this, if you see, the defect is unilateral, and the remaining, you have the anterior teeth which are there on the contralateral side. So on the contralateral side, you may have the anterior teeth, most commonly maybe central incisors. Central incisor, of course, you will be having lateral canine, or at the most you can have premolars also. So unilateral defect which is having teeth which is extending to the contralateral side, that is, which is retaining most of the anterior teeth, that is Aramani's class 2. Aramani class 3 is a defect which occurs in the central portion of the hard palate, as you can see in the figure also, and it may involve part of the soft palate or may not. So that is class 3. Now, the class 4, Aramani class 4 is basically the defect which crosses the midline, and it involves both the sides of the maxilla. You can see here in the figure also. So the defect which is crossing the midline, that is this, and it is also involving both the sides of the arch. So that is Aramani's class 4. Class 5 is the defect. You have the surgical defect which is bilateral. You can see it is involving both the sides, and it lies posterior to the remaining anterior teeth. So you have teeth anterior to this defect. So this is a bilateral posterior defect. Likewise, you have class 6, which is a surgical defect which is anterior to the remaining teeth. So this is basically a surgical defect which lies anteriorly to the remaining posterior teeth. So you have posterior teeth present, but the anterior you have the defect. So this type of defect is one of the least frequently occurring defect, and that may occur maybe due to trauma or maybe due to some congenital defect rather than a planned surgical intervention. So once we have the complete understanding of the type of post-surgical defects, then now we need to plan a processes, we need to fabricate a processes which can close this defect. So once you have a defect like this, so we need a maxillofacial processes which can close this type of defect, and the processes which closes this type of defect is called as an obturator. So by definition, an obturator is a maxillofacial processes which is used to close a congenital or acquired tissue opening, as I just told you, primarily of the hard palate and or contiguous alveolar or soft tissue structures. This is a definition according to glossary of prosthodontic terms. And obturator is derived from a Latin verb which means obturare, which means to close or shut off. Now, what are the objectives of an obturator? Objective of an obturator is to restore aesthetics or cosmetic appearance of the teeth, very important. Secondly, another important function is to restore function. That is how the patient is going to function, that is chew, swallow. To protect the tissues is another objective of the obturator, and to provide psychological therapy and also to provide therapeutic or healing effect. So these are the objectives of an obturator. Next, let us see what are the types of obturators. Now, classification of obturator was given by Rand and Bouchers in 1970, and there are a number of classifications on which obturators can be classified. One is on the basis of origin or discrepancy. Easy to understand that because there can be a congenital defect obturator, say for example cleft palate patient, and you can have an acquired defect obturator, like if you are planning for a surgery or because of trauma, there can be acquired defect obturators. Next type of classification is based on the basis of anatomical location of the defect. You can have labial or buccal obturators, that is on this side. Then you can have alveolar obturators which involves the alveolus. You can have hard palate obturators which involves the hard palate, or you can have soft palate obturators which involves the soft palate. And you can also have pharyngeal obturators which closes the open pharyngeal space. Next type of obturator can be classified on the basis of type of obturator attachment to the basic maxillary processes. So you can have fixed obturators wherein the bulb, you have a defect here, and the bulb which is there inside, which is closing the defect, may be attached to that. So those obturators are fixed obturators. Or you can have a hinged movable obturator. Most commonly we see this in a pharyngeal obturator where we have the movable space, or a soft palate obturator. And another type of obturator is a detachable type of obturators. That can be, you can make out that this type of obturator can be when you have the defect in the orbit, that is the eyeball, and it is involving the entire maxilla, or you have such kind of defects, which is most of the maxilla is either partial maxillectomy or complete maxillectomy. Then in those cases you can have a detachable type of obturator. Next classification is on the basis of physiological movement of the oronasal and pharyngeal tissues which are adjacent to or functioning against the obturator. So you can have a static type of an obturator, or you can even have a functional obturator. Next type of classification is, which is one of the most commonly used classification of obturator, is on the basis of timing of the fabrication. You can have three types. You have the surgical obturators, interim obturators, and definitive obturators. So this is the type of obturator. This is just a simulation of an obturator, like you have this, and which is closing the defect which is there in the maxilla after the surgery. So this is attached to your processes, which could be your clear acrylic if you are having a dentulous patient, or to your complete denture if it is an edentulous patient. Now, what are functions of an obturator? One, it helps in enhancing the healing of the post-surgical or traumatic defect. Another thing is it can be used for feeding purposes, Definitely, because when you have a large surgical gap, you have a large defect, then it is very difficult for the patient to swallow, to basically feed. So if you close that space, then feeding becomes easier, and it helps in feeding purposes. Thirdly, it helps in reshaping and reconstruction of the palatal contour and the soft palate. Very important. It improves speech, and it can improve aesthetics by correcting the lip and cheek contour. If the defect is going towards the labial or the buccal side, then definitely the contour of the obturator also improves your aesthetics. Of course, it is going to prevent ingress of the food into the defect or exodus into the oral cavity. That is, various exudates are there, which are there from the nasal area or the eye area, which is going to go into the oral cavity. So your obturator is going to block all those, and it will not allow that to flow into the oral cavity. Another thing is they can be used as a stent to hold the dressings or the surgical packs after surgery, and they provide psychological comfort to the patient. Also, they reduces post-operative bleeding. So you understand the importance of obturator. So these are all the functions which I have just told you of obturators. Another thing is where they are indicated. Indications of an obturator is when the size and defect of the size and extent of the defect contraindicates another surgery. That is, when you have a large defect here, when there is say a big you have a surgery, that is maxillectomy, and there is a very big defect which contraindicates further surgery, or the condition of the patient does not allow another surgery in order to close this gap with, say, autogenous graft from some other area, or by using a soft tissue graft, then in those cases obturator is very helpful, and it is indicated there. Also, obturator is indicated as a temporary prosthesis during surgical corrections, and in old age patients where another surgery is contraindicated, or when local avascular conditions of the tissues contraindicate surgery. Also, they are indicated to rapidly restore patients' cosmetic appearance, and they act as a framework over which tissues are shaped by the surgeon. So these are all the indications of an obturator. Now let us look what are types of obturators. As I told you in the classification also, based on the interventional time period used in the maxillofacial rehabilitation of the patient, there are three types of obturators. One is a surgical obturator, another one is the interim obturator, and third one is the definitive obturator. So what is a surgical obturator? By definition, surgical obturator is a temporary maxillofacial prosthesis which is inserted during or immediately following surgical or traumatic loss of portion or all of one or both maxillary bones and contiguous alveolar structures. That is, it could be gingival tissues or teeth, or both. There are two types of surgical obturator. One is immediate surgical obturator, which is placed immediately after surgery. Another one is delayed surgical obturator, which is placed 7 to 10 days post surgery. So how do you fabricate a surgical obturator? Now say for example, you have a patient here and who has to go for a surgery. Now in this, the maxillofacial surgeon and a team, of course, that will include a prosthodontist and a speech pathologist, they will determine as to how much will be the extent of the surgery, and on basis of that, the prosthodontist is going to make an impression and pour a cast, and on the cast the surgeon will tell, okay, this will be the extent, the approximate extent of the surgery, and accordingly the prosthodontist is going to they just do a mock-up on that, or you just directly fabricate a obturator with the help of autopolymerizing or a heat cure resins. Like when the oral surgeons tell that, okay, all teeth will be removed and there will be a defect here. So a prosthodontist is going to remove all these teeth on the cast, and after that, with the help of heat cure resins, most preferable method of making surgical obturator is with the help of heat cure resins, because it minimizes residual monomer into the oral cavity in comparison to the autopolymerizing resins. So here the prosthodontist is going to make this with the heat cure resins, and once you have this, so once you have made this prosthesis, then what you're going to do, you're going to make, with the burr, you're going to make holes, and these vents, these holes are provided so as to after post surgery you can basically tie with titanium wires or the wires and stabilize this prosthesis in the patient's mouth. When we are fabricating this type of obturator, clear acrylic resin is recommended, as after the surgery, immediately after the surgery, when you are inserting this, you can clearly make out that which is the pressure area, and accordingly you can relieve the impression surface so that it does not, after post operative, it does not hurt the and impinge on the tissues. So what are advantages of surgical obturator? 1. It provides the matrix on which the surgical packing can be placed immediately after the surgery. 1. Secondly, it reduces the oral contamination of the wound immediately during post-surgical period. Thirdly, it aids in speech and deglutition. Fourthly, it reduces the psychological trauma of surgery, and also it reduces the period of hospitalization, because this is very important. As surgical packing can be given, it will aid in speech, very important. Another thing, it will aid in function, because most of these patients will be fed with the help of nasal ryle tube. So in those cases, if you close this defect initially, then it becomes easier. And anterior teeth, if required, may be added to increase the aesthetic. Suppose these teeth are also not there, then you can include these teeth in order to provide aesthetics in this case. Next is the interim obturator. Now, what is an interim obturator? Interim obturator is by definition is a maxillofacial prosthesis which is made following completion of initial healing following surgical resection of the portion or all of one or both maxillae, frequently many or all teeth in the defect area replaced by this prosthesis. So this is the definition of interim obturators, and interim obturators are fabricated once you have a clearly defined margins of the defect. See, once you have given the surgical obturators, the tissues will heal, and after a period of time, say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even a month, then they are ready for interim obturators. So interim obturators, whenever they are made, you have a well-defined margins of the defect, and then you also make sure that you don't have any revision. You discuss with the surgeon that revision of the surgery or another surgery is not required. Then accordingly you can plan for this type of processes. These obturators are given till complete healing of the surgical site occurs and the site becomes more dimensionally stable, and you have a kind of the same, the procedure is same. Here we are giving clasp in order to hold the processes, and you cover the entire the defect area and make this with the heat cure resins. Also you can provide a closed hollow bulb which extends into the defect if required, because if the defect is small then you don't require a bulb. So if you have a large defect, then you can give a closed hollow bulb in order to close the entire defect. The patient is recalled after every 2 weeks for evaluation, as you will encounter rapid changes which will be occurring in the defect and because of the healing of the tissues. So in those cases, frequent relining will be required. It is also advisable whenever you are relining, you use a soft reliner and whenever the patient comes back to you for relining, you always change the relining material. Never ever use never ever reline over the old relined material, because that will increase the chances of infection. There will be mucosal irritation, fungal infection will be there, and also there will be foul smell which will be emanating from the processes and also from the defect. Next we have the definitive obturator. Now what is definitive obturator? By definition, it is a maxillofacial processes that replaces part or all of the maxilla and associated teeth which are lost due to surgery or trauma. So this is according to glossary of prosthodontic terms, and this type of prosthesis is indicated when you have the complete healing of the defect area. So once it is completely healed and it is you feel it is dimensionally stable, and then you go for a definitive type of prosthesis. It usually interim prosthesis is given between 1 to 6 months, and definitive prosthesis is given after 6 months of surgery. The timing of the obturator fabrication depends on the size of the defect. Of course, larger the size of the defect, definitely it will require more time, and progress of the healing. Some patients healing will be faster, smaller defect will heal faster in comparison to larger defects, and prognosis of the tumor control. That is another important aspect in which you decide the timing in which you are going to make the definitive processes. And another important factor is presence or absence of teeth. So if you have presence of teeth, you can make use of the remaining teeth. You check the condition of the remaining teeth, the bone support, the areas which require restorations, and accordingly you do the mouth preparation, and then you can plan for a definitive type of processes. And what is the need for fabricating a definitive processes? Because prior to this, patient was having interim processes and you were doing periodic relining. So it is not possible to keep relining the denture, the processes, because the processes becomes heavy and bulky. Secondly, the processes becomes rough and also unhygienic. As I told you, foul smelling, and multiple times you are doing relining. So definitely it abrades the it can harm the remaining tissues also. Also, retention and stability of the processes can improve by adding teeth on the defect side if you're giving a definitive type of processes, and changes are associated with healing and remodeling will continue to occur, and you need to keep relining even in those cases. Once the surgical defects become dimensionally stable, then you are sure that not much of correction is going to occur, and then you can go for a definitive obturator processes. Now, what are types of definitive obturators? There are two types of definitive obturator. One is a closed hollow bulb design, another one is an open obturator design. So hollow bulb obturator, it is a type of definitive obturator which is given approximately 6 months post surgery, as we have just discussed, and the bulb fabrication may not be necessary if the central palate defect is small, as I mentioned before also, and whatever bulb fabrication you are doing, it should not cause movement of the eye during mastication. It should be single piece rather than two piece to aid in contour matching and better patient acceptance, and it should not be too large because insertion of the processes will be tedious to the patient, especially in cases where there is a restricted mouth opening. So whenever you are making an obturator, one thing which you have to keep in mind, the defect may be very big. Okay, so how do we start? I'll just give you an example. You have a patient which is having say a unilateral defect which is covering the entire part of the hard palate. So first thing, in a definitive process, what you're going to do, you're going to make an impression. That impression, before making an impression, you take wet gauze pieces, slightly place in those defect areas so that your impression material does not flow into the defect and get locks into that. Say it can flow towards the sinus or towards the orbit or towards the nasal cavity. So in order to avoid that, you have to apply these wet gauze pieces. After that, what you mix alginate, it should not be too flowy because of the obvious reasons. Make the patient sit straight rather than to the head in a reclined position. Keep the head upright, straight or downwards. You load the impression and take the impression. You can initially apply a little bit of your alginate into the defect and then place the loaded tray over the tissues. Make an impression. Once you have the impression, you should be careful when you're removing that. Pour the cast, and if you are planning for a cast partial framework, then in those cases, plan your processes on the diagnostic model. You can survey the cast and appropriately then you do the mouth preparation. After the mouth preparation, you are going to make the final impression, and then you're going to get the master cast. You duplicate the master cast, then you have the entire process. It's a conventional way of fabricating cast partial dentures. You can see my videos on cast partial dentures. You can get to know how they are fabricated. And once you have the metal framework, you do the metal trine. You have these extensions into the defect of the framework, and then you can see this. You have these clasps, your direct retainers, indirect retainers, your major connectors, minor connectors. All this is according to the plan, whatever you have selected the type of processes. Once this is done, after that you're going to do the trial of this. You're going to fabricate your occlusal rims, and in this area, in the defect area, you want to flow the wax, and you are going to do the jaw relations. Take the bite record. Once you have done the bite record, then you do the trine, wax trine, and after the satisfactory wax trine, it is ready to be processed. Now, you have to keep in mind that the undesirable undercut should be blocked. You flow the stabilized base plate into the defect area. Your defect may be, you can block it with the help of, sometimes you have the defect area, you flow a thin wax into the defect area. After that, you can take even a mixture of salt and place it into this area, and over that you take a wax slit, you cover the defect. And as I told you, after that, what you're going to do, you're going to do your wax elimination, and you're going to process the dentures. So once you're processing the dentures, the entire salt which you have mixed is going to flow out, and you're going to have a hollow bulb processes. So that lid which is there, that is a false lid which is fabricated with an autopolymerizing resin, and then the denture is finished and polished, and then inserted into the patient's mouth. The materials which can be used for fabricating hollow bulb are acrylic resin, most commonly used. You can have even silicone bulb, balloon obturators, light cured hollow obturators. So these all materials can be used. Each one of them have their own advantages and disadvantages. Apart from this, you have the open obturator design, in which you are not closing you're covering the defect with the autopolymerizing lid. As such, you're directly basically, so you see this defect is there, suppose there in the tissues. Then here in the open bulb, you're not covering this defect with the autopolymerizing lid. You are keeping that open. At the same time, your bulb is going towards the inner surface. Now, the drawback here is food lodgement, which again, that is the reason these open bulb obturators are not that popular and not acceptable by the patient. Apart from this, you have even the soft palate obturator. Now, this discussion I will be taking next time, which includes the soft palate and also the pharyngeal obturators. So this is all about obturators. Thank you for watching the video.